What's shaking, cats and kittens? Thank you for supporting my podcast and my sustaining partners. I want to tell you about one of them right now, Charmington Holistics. Do you know what an apothecary is? Well, an apothecary makes and provides medicines. Charmington Holistics specializes in all natural herbal remedies and is an apothecary. So, what's ailing you? Can't sleep? Got a stomach ache? Got the blues? Well, head on over to Charmington Holistics where you can find herbal support for anything you need. A personal blended tea, herbal tonic, and supplements can offer you an alternative to that Advil bottle, while an in-house herbalist listens to your needs as well. Charmington Holistics is your source for all things herbal. Head on over to 425 South Conklin Street in Highlandtown or visit Charmington Holistics on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And Charmington Holistics is open 12 to 5 on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Head on over, check them out, tell them Rob Lee sent you. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in His Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today I am joined by lawyer, political strategist, media personality, author, Ufuoma Agarin. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of titles there, a lot of slashes, a lot of like really big titles. I'm a lowly podcaster.
Not lowly.
Depends on who you're asking. So tell us about your background and your experience doing all that you do in Baltimore.
Well, that's such a deep question. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a multifaceted individual, so that's why there's a lot of slashes. But I came here at 16 for college, and that's when I started with my love affair of Baltimore. Being in Baltimore, I've gained multiple degrees, and I've seen like the community. I've lived in the community, so I have a really big passion for community service in Baltimore, public service and internet government. Just policy work and hitting the ground running in Baltimore. Like that's how I show up here. That's what I've done here. You're going to ask me some questions, so just ask those.
So Baltimore has its issues, like any other city, but at times it appears to be like more exaggerated, like in a very hyperbole sort of way, right? Yeah. I've heard rhetoric like a city under siege and a city in crisis, and I see people casually walking their dogs and, not running for the hills and all. And I see people buying artisanal ice cream and donuts. These things don't really connect for me. Like, how can it be both? So what are the biggest challenges, opportunities, and strengths from your vantage point do you see that Baltimore has?
Well, you're right about that. Baltimore, I think it's just like any other city when it comes to it having the people eating ice cream and walking their dogs, but at the same time, it's like, what's going on? But I think it's because it's such a small city. It's smaller than a lot of the other big pollutant, like it's not a New York, you know what I'm saying? It's not a Chicago, but it's Baltimore. So right. I think the challenges Baltimore faces is mainly in infrastructure and policy. Like we do not have good urban policy. Our policy is not community oriented. It's not really from a constituent standpoint. So that's one of the biggest challenges I foresee because with policy, that's the structure of the city. Yeah. That's how you know who's going to jail, who's not going to jail, what are the homeless people getting, what are the opportunities for mothers and children, and how are the schools running. Like all of this work comes into policy. I think that Baltimore has very, very, very poor a very poor government infrastructure, not coming at any of the public officials in office today, but this is something that's been coming down the line for years and years and years. And I think that our problem is we don't know how to regenerate. We don't know how to basically care long enough for something to have a result. It's always a quick fix, a quick Band-Aid, and I think that that's Baltimore's biggest challenge. We have everything that it takes. Like our strengths are up there. We have great sectors in Baltimore. We have so many different things that we could pull off of and bring families into the city financially. So we have great taxes, and we have property value. We have so many different things that we can really have. People want to develop in Baltimore, but Baltimore shows no promise to itself, and that's an issue. And
yeah, I think that, in going through this podcast and kind of the genesis of it, it was a conversation of like almost a challenge. Like, I don't think you can find 20 interesting people. And it's like, I have found hundreds at this point. Yeah. And just people who give their viewpoint of the city and some of the strengths that are there. And they all are right there that you described. And I had this running bit, I want to say it was maybe 2 years ago, and he had this State of Baltimore kind of thing. It was a Ravens playoff game that I did not watch because I was busy watching that. And And I just remember it has this age component to it. It's kind of like people are saying the same thing that certain politicians are saying of, we need to shut things down and we need to bring law and order. And when I started hearing that, it sounds like you want to get the black people out of there, and the city is over 60% black.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work.
If we could go back to, like, we had mayors within the last 30 years. When we had Baltimore, when Baltimore was Baltimore, when we had jobs here, and the jobs were here because of the factories and because Baltimore's booming city, it was black and it was running black, and black people were running the city. The streets were clean, you know. I feel like what's being said today is because essentially what the black butterfly is, they've pushed people into certain situations into certain areas of the city, and it does yield problems, and it does regenerate and, you know, recycle into another generation of problems. Yeah. So I think that when they say that, it's like this message of, let's get the problem out of here. Yeah. But when you look at what the problem is, it's not in the harbor, and it's in the outskirts, and it's in what we call the black butterfly. But
it's these pockets. We have the Baltimore L, we have the Red Line, we have all of these different things that are going there that people are afraid to really touch on and really put out there. And I'll say this, where I feel like, 6 years ago, when, you know, Freddie Gray and all of that went down, a lot of people was very much like, it's a comedian I like, Patrice O'Neill, and he was talking about, you know, whenever there's something bad that happens in like Haiti, he's like, I just feel like people are waiting, like, how can we get these people out of here? Just sitting there, just drooling. And it's kind of that same energy. Oh, the city's in disarray. Let's start developing. Let's plan out developments, because I see cranes all the time in the city. I see cranes in my neighborhood all the time, but also I see the blue lights. So which one is taking precedence?
Jesus Christ. Wow. That's a really tough one, because at this point in time, I think that one feeds into the other, if you get what I'm saying. And when you said Freddie Gray, it reminded me, like, back in 2015, I was Miss Coppin State University at the time.
Whoop, whoop.
And go Coppin.
I'm a Morgan person myself.
Well, you know, goodbye. But
all right,
no,
Eagle.
Thank you. We're here together. We're now here. You know, see, we got to stick together. But Freddie Gray, I was at Coppin, and I remember at the same time I was started as an intern at the state's attorney's office, so I was working very close with cops and things like that, or just prosecutors. Sure. So at that point in time, I remember I got maced in the riots when I was just trying to, you know, help and talk to some reporters about kids missing the bus and just random stuff. And the way the police were so militant, and I was like, yo, I work with y'all. Like, not with you, but at the same time, you know, I'm a person that is going to be a lawyer in the future, and I want to, like, do good work. And you guys are just so, it's like, there's no pretext. There was no context. They didn't really know how to identify with me, just because I guess I'm a black girl on the street in the middle of a problem. And for me, that said a lot. So when I look at the blue lights and I look at the cranes, it's like, honestly, if we don't have the blue lights just shutting everybody down and making people who are property owners and making people that have stake in the city, people that actually want to stay here or have history here, if these people are starting to feel like, you know, I'm not even welcome in my own community, or the police are coming against me, they will leave. And the property value is just going lower and lower with all this crime, so the developers can just swoop in and get the best. So, you know, it's hand in hand.
I'll say, during that time, I was definitely going to therapy for a completely unrelated thing. But I remember, well, it was stress related, but I remember speaking to my therapist, who was like a tall white dude, and he was just like, yeah, man, we were just clicking on just being nerds and being into, like, Japanese culture. But I just remember I told him, I was like, look, I turned the other way when I saw a police officer earlier today on my way here. And he was really, like, gobsmacked. He was like, wow. He's like, I can't share that experience. He's like, tell me more about it. He's like, that has to be hard, that you changed your whole setup. He's trying to, you know, empathize and all of that stuff. And he's just like, it's terrible. He's like, and you're a big guy. He's like, so I can imagine it's even more amplified with all of this stuff happening around here. He's like, I wouldn't want to trade places with you. He's like, it's hard. It's hard for you. And he's like, especially being here. He's like, you know, the city is what it is. And he's like, you still feel like you're an enemy of your own place sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, at least you have some context there, sir.
And believe that attitude permeates not just being on the street and walking down the street, but in office buildings. And like you said, Baltimore, 60% black, and our leadership is black. But in certain offices and certain arenas, like, it's not all black. And when you walk in as a black person as well, like, it is intimidating. It's that same, like, I had to walk away from the cops. Like, when I walk in, it's like, they find you to be somebody that you're not. And it's like, I'm just me. But at the same time, it's having an effect in all, I think, arenas in the Baltimore community, in the arts especially. Like, you're seeing it all over the place in different ways. So,
and it's interesting. Like, you have this area where we're recording at right now. We're like in Station North, and it's the trendy blah blah blah, but it's always around. You know what I mean? Like, you can go one block to the left, one block to the right, and you see things that. If someone was over here and they only spent time like on this strip, they're like, oh wow, it's just nothing but arts and food and culture. You one block over, it's like, oh.
Go on Guilford. If you have City Watch, Mount Vernon, all of this area, because I went to UB Law, popping off. There's always something going on down the street, and it's so crazy because, not to call them hipsters, but the people that identify as hipsters, they're like, listen, up the street, it's kind of crazy. They were one block away.
Yeah. The term I like to hear when people go to like the mixed use places, they go to like the R House, they'll go to Fat Sonnet or something like that. And I was like, it's a little sketch around here.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh. I was like, and
they like that though at the same time.
And because it feels authentic. Yeah. And it feels like, oh, this is part of the zeitgeist in the city, culture. Yeah. But then you run into, and no shots, but you run into some folk who don't recognize that. From my vantage point, I think Baltimore drives the culture. No one's coming to Maryland to check out Carroll County. No one wants to see historic Carroll County or like Laurel, see the one post office there.
Don't do Laurel.
All shots.
I was just saying, I came from Boston, Massachusetts to Laurel, okay? So you can't say that.
That's fine.
And Laurel has Main Street. No, let me stop. But no, for real, I get you. Baltimore has a culture that people are coming here for. It's like the DC on this end. And that's why there's that, like, Baltimore's outside of DMV because,
So when you have these things from a larger spot, like if we go up to like the state level, and it's like, where's that support at? But it's like, solve it yourself, fix it yourself.
Everything.
And we're driving people here that are going to check these surrounding counties. Like, oh, wow, they have this out there in like Harford County. They have this further down in like PG County. Yeah, but people are coming to go to Baltimore. They're coming to a Ravens game. They're coming to an Orioles game. They're coming to an event in here. But it's like you still got to prove yourself to get any of these like resources that are sitting there for whether it be the arts community and such.
And it's really so funny. Like, where I feel like the state of Maryland, when you go to something as simple as the roads in Baltimore, because I worked at the SHA, I learned that the Maryland government does not cover any of Baltimore roads. That's up to Baltimore. It's the highway that leads to Baltimore, the highway that leads out. So literally, I went to the place where it's like, this is the line that it stops, and immediately right after there was a bump. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's potholes. So I think that the responsibility, the onus is really on Baltimore half the time. Like the state of Maryland, this has been a city for a long time that had to, it supported itself. The state of Maryland, of course, had great governors that did a lot for Baltimore, like William Donald Schaefer. Like, we had people that built the harbor and gave us opportunities, but at the same time,
that's a long time ago now,
That's a long time ago. And the resources when it comes to the art, like there's thousands of dollars. When you look at even housing for people, and I always go back to the arts because Baltimore is the arts. Like Elijah Cummings, rest his soul, he was big on the arts because that's what brought money to Baltimore. That's what brings an influx of people. People are not wanting to raise their families here and let their children go to school here unless they're going to Baltimore School of the Arts. Like, it's not... It's a place that it's on us. And when those resources are so openly available, it's what communities are they available to? Because you can live in Baltimore and be an artist and not know that this is available to you. You go to the school down the street and you don't know that this is a program that can give you X, Y, and Z. And it's like, who are these opportunities really open for and to, and who are they trying to bring into the city? I know people that have housing. I was homeless in Baltimore as a law student, and I know people that were able to get subsidized housing and get, like basically Section 8 coming out of LA. You have no ties to this place, honestly, but because your portfolio is popping on a very simple level. Like, the opportunities are here, but the way the city's set up, like, you're not giving away housing vouchers, but you're giving away artist housing. Like, I can see what they're doing. I can see it's on purpose that you're making us solve our own problems, because eventually the problem will eradicate itself, or it'll be bulldozed over and we'll have a new pretty surface. And
then we have that short-term memory too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, that? Nah.
Because think about who makes up Baltimore's generations, man. Like, there's so many people that came from the South, North Carolina, things like that, that started their families here. And over the years, things that they've been bought out of so many things, or Johns Hopkins has done, no shots, but organizations, institutions, the city itself, like, has not done its best to really protect its constituents. And at the end of the day, people do not, that's why Baltimore's in a position now. People do not really have roots in what they're rooted in.
It's long-standing issues, and I think that's the key thing. And, you know, it's definitely an age conversation, because, like, I always joke about, like, Brandon Scott, you're the same age I am. Literally. And
how old are you?
36.
Okay.
And then you'll hear, like, you know, it's definitely an age-oriented thing. Like, he doesn't know anything. He needs to cut his hair. He needs to do this and that. And it's like, is the tact and the effort there? And it's like, considering that, you know, somebody on the news, maybe Murray Babala, said something real about, like, there's been a little corruption there, like pointed corruption. Like, there's a certain degree of, like, we're going to ignore this. But when you get outed for corruption, it's like, you've done other stuff too.
Yeah.
And let's not talk about that. Let's just move to, well, it's your fault now because you got the ball. It's like, that's not how it works.
That's how it works here.
Unfortunately, yes.
It's a lot of finger pointing, because let's just face it. Got to pick my words really wisely here. This is where I become political. Right? Yeah, because, like, I already name dropped something. So I'm like, honestly, when it comes to Baltimore,
go
like,
pig Latin.
You know, no, but it's gonna be a lot of finger pointing. Everybody here, I think everybody has a lot of great intentions, but not everybody's hands are clean. People have, you know, different coalitions, different, you know, alliances, different reasons, especially former mayors. The current mayor, you know, there's something to be said because he is this young, but age has nothing to do with, you were voted in. So, you know, if you're voted in, you're doing a job. If I was voted in right now to be president, I couldn't be voted in because I'm not 35. But if I had the opportunity, I know people would focus on me being so young, but it's like, why did we vote him? Why was he, you know, city council president? Like, it's the work that you show. I was 16 in college, 19 in law school. At the end of the day, my age had nothing to do with it. It's all that I brought to the table. So I think that with the finger pointing now, it's like you see that everybody has something that they could be at fault for, but nobody really wants to pay attention to what matters. Like, yeah, Mary probably got some corruption going on. Crazy. Let's put it on the headline. Let's flash it. But let's pay attention to what's important. We get so much caught up in who's doing, and Catherine Pugh did this, and this is what's going on with the Rue, and it's like, all right. None of this really matters in Baltimore.
To me, it almost feels like it's a switch. It's like, look right there.
Yeah.
And then they're in your back pocket.
It's clickbait. Like, what's going, no.
And I couldn't jam with Theroux, and it's no shots at him. It's just watching the serial like doc, and I was like, you're on here, sir.
Bro, okay. So saying this, you know, Theroux gave me some of my first opportunities. Coming up as a young student that wanted to go to law school. I worked under the state's attorneys. That's who I was working for. He was a deputy state's attorney at the time, or something like that. He was assistant state's attorney. But at that point, after that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that came out over the years as I was working for Theroux. And for me, knowing him personally, as I can call him a friend now, knowing him personally and knowing his ideology when it comes to the city of Baltimore, like, knowing him personally, I'm like, all right, this is crazy. Knowing his legal background, and I know he was a prosecutor that also was started off as a defense attorney. I'm like, well, you know both sides of the story. But Adnan Syed is always something I saw that actually on the HBO special when they came to Baltimore. Like, I was in the theater and I was like, some of my work is in this documentary. I didn't give me no credit. HBO, I'm coming for you. No, I'm kidding. But when I looked at it, I said, wow, the way that this story was painted, I can see why everybody in the world might think he's a horrible person for gunning after this case, especially with certain things about, like, you know, the evidence and not retesting the evidence and certain decisions that were made. And this is where it's like me being a lawyer now. It's like the legal system, man. Somebody can really be a great person. He could have been a great state's attorney for the city of Baltimore. Could have been a great mayor, honestly. This man, not saying this because I know him, but just based off of, like, ideologically, he's a Baltimorean. He came here as a refugee and grew up here. His parents are city, you know, teachers. He went to Woodlawn. Like, he's Baltimore. He's just brown. But at the same time, he understands the city. He was able to go to Harvard and able to look introspectively at his city, come back, work here, at one of the highest levels and really make friends and alliances with different people. He understands the city from a completely different standpoint, that I think that people in the city want to be comfortable. And that comfortability is what's driven the city to the point that we've done things, alliances with names that we know, or her father was something, or this is somebody. Like, we don't trust other people, but we'll trust people that will do wrong to us in our face, or we'll trust people that haven't shown us anything.
That's why some people almost got reelected. And
and I look at Theroux and I'm like, all right, this little video of him doing something crazy, or they say he's doing something crazy. Like, all these things I see about him when I saw Adnan Syed, I was just like, man, this is not a clear perspective on the other side. If he could come out with a documentary as to his reasonings, and I think as a lawyer too, the way you follow a case and the way you like follow through with a case is separate from maybe how you personally feel about certain things. It's really your job as a prosecutor. Like, if you're going to work for the state's attorney or the deputy attorney general, you got to follow through with certain things. And this was a big case for Baltimore.
Like,
so
this is the hand that I was dealt, and it's like, I may not agree with this, and you know,
they're
from a
both
personal
brown,
standpoint,
bro. Like,
and that's the thing that gets lost sometimes. Like, you know, I remember just doing like jury duty. You know, the only time I was on like a trial was like 2 weeks, and I was like, I tried to dress as hood as possible, just so I can get out of it, because it was like a rough one. It was like mesothelioma. Someone died from cancer and all of that, and it was a person there that just didn't get it. Didn't get like, yeah, well, I feel like they should get something. I was like, did they prove their case though? I was like, that's all we're here for. And that's literally just black and white in my head. I was like, from what we were told, well, I feel like doesn't matter.
That killed me in school. That's still to this day. I didn't understand. Crazy enough, graduated and everything. I'm like, when George Floyd occurred, when the situation, not even the situation, I don't even want to, when the debacle, like, it was something that I was like, whoa, so this is why when Freddie Gray, when this happened, this is why cops don't get in trouble. Like, the elements of a crime is the crime. They might be guilty of something, but are you guilty of a crime? And I think that in that situation in court, people don't really understand, like, you did something, but at the same time, the way the law is written means that you don't have to be caught up for a crime, per se. You might have done an act, but it doesn't constitute. Like, that stuff blows my mind to this day. And it's like, you study it, you memorize it, you regurgitate it, and you sit there and experience it in real life, and that's when you're like, whoa.
You almost feel like, it's like, I like watching football, right? It's like, you guys are referees. Like, what is this?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Like, what's the catch? Like, what's a crime?
And that's why they say, like, I get it now, get a lawyer. At first, I was like, knowing a lawyer's power, like, you know, this person can help you navigate. But it's like, yeah, get a lawyer, because the way they manipulate these words, like, I saw somebody walk out of a Walgreens, this is show you Baltimore, walk out of a Walgreens with a big box of Pampers and gave the middle finger to the security guard standing at the door, and the security guard's like, I can't stop him, it's the law. Can't stop them. And I said, no, like, shopkeepers, you know, they have a law to shopkeepers privilege where you can lock somebody in there until the police come. She was like, well, store policy in the city of Baltimore is I can't do this because we have cases. And I'm like, dang, it's like you're relitigating something. You're trying to help yourself, but you can't even help yourself here. So I guess the law is just, it's twisted, man. I'm not going to lie. But everybody knows that.
So, law and politics. Right. What are the traits you rely on most? Because obviously, well-read, super smart. You're just throwing off things. I'm just like, all right, I know about them. Take this note here. So what skills, what traits do you rely on most in like navigating your professional life and even your scholastic life? Because you're a recent grad, no? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what skills do you rely on most? What traits?
Can I tell you the truth?
Spin it.
I rely on myself. Like, I am authentically just like this in all arenas. I'm in law school. I think I'm a very spunky personality. So just being open, being able to speak to anybody, like, that's something that is brought me from everywhere. That's probably the reason I was able to get into law school. Like, just being able to authentically identify, that's something that's very important to me, because it helps me in my work as a writer. It helps me in my work as a lawyer, a consultant right now, since I'm not officially like attorneying. But yeah, I think that authentically being myself and identifying with individuals and being able to like just deep everything that surrounds me is something that, that's something that's carrying me through. That's all of it.
I've answered a interview question for a job in that same way. It's like, yeah, so what makes you so great? It's like me. Yeah. And I said it with smug on my face. It's like,
period. Huh. Yeah, and that's something to be said, because who are you? That's the second question I'm like, so who are you? Like, why do you think you're so special? It takes the interviewer from being to being like, so what are you talking about? How dare you answer me like that, you know?
I flip it. I was like, wave daddy. Like, what it is?
And that's energy. Like my energy, it transforms. Like, and I think that also, being able to identify, I think it's a natural, I'm a Scorpio, so I think that I take it to, yes, I am a Scorpio, Virgo moon, yeah. But it's like this natural, we're in Libra season, so I can say it, like this flirtatious, like energy. I naturally just, like it's not flirting, but it's like flirting. Like I just talk, everybody I'm talking to is like, I'm so interested in everything you have to say. And I genuinely am, like I'm genuinely there with you. So it's like, I think that helps you in the courtroom. It helps you deal with clients. When I was an intern, it helps you deal with people that are in pain, like being able to identify and really just like, okay, like, yeah.
I think that's even in like, it's in different parts of like some reading like all of the Robert Greene stuff right now. So like laws of attraction, 48 laws of power, all of that stuff. And that stuff is in there. And it's almost like a version of like selling. Like if people for podcasts, for sake of argument, people like personalities.
Yeah.
So if you have a personality that people aren't jamming with, it's like, but it's like, oh, I kind of like you. You seem cool. You seem interesting. Boom. There you go. People are going to be interested in whatever you're talking about. The guest is one piece of it, but it's like, I wonder what you're going to say to this guest and how that conversation is going to go. How's that equation going to go?
Yeah. Personality, that's something that all throughout my life, I knew I had a lot of, but I didn't know I did. Like, people weren't like, oh, you're so cool, or whatever the case is. Like, now it's like, wow, you're pretty dope. And I think it's because I never lost my authentic self. So a lot of people, like, answering that question when it comes to scholastics and your job and your life, you would be like, oh, time management and just being very true to self and being interested, deeply vested in these issues. And no, I'm truly being me, because me encapsulates all of this. And me being me is like this certain freedom. And having freedom in any environment, in any arena you really want to show up in, is power. Period. It gets you through the door. It gets people to understand you if they don't understand where you're coming from. It just does stuff for you. So I think that's why I answered it like that. But very true.
It goes to the perspective too. Like, if you're being you and you're being your authentic self, then everything else kind of
falls in place.
Yeah. So I remember having this conversation with Devin Allen, and I was just like,
love him.
And it was like, he was sitting in the seat, and it was kind of like, like certain things are baked in, like you being a black person is baked into the shots that you choose to take, the why you choose to take it, when you choose to take it, and subject matter and all of that different stuff. And it's not like, let me think about what it looks like. Let me think about what a black person from Baltimore would take a picture of. You're a black person from Baltimore. This is what you want to take a picture of. It's already baked in. You don't have to pass through some test. And I think that that's the thing when you're true to yourself and being yourself and really being in that. Yeah. To your point, it falls in place. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think that a lot of time we get caught up with things being like, especially when you said Devin Allen, things like being a black person is the gravamen of who I am. It's not the lens. Like, there's so many different types of black people, but because I have experiences and I am a black person, this makes me show up in the world in certain ways. However, that doesn't with art, it's not you picking how you want to show up. So that's something I look at.
Aside from your work, what other creative interests or talents do you have?
Well, my work right now is researching mandatory minimums. So aside from my work, I'm a spokesperson for my cousin. I'm not going to say my cousin, but for this organization that my cousin runs, and it's pretty dope. It's in Tampa, Florida. It's called Black Owned Business Connect. They help throw a lot of events where they bring black people to network together. I'm a brand ambassador for several different organizations, fashion lines. One of them being Mess in the Bottle. She is huge. Also, Picky Pussies, excuse my language, if I can say that on the line. But it's about, it's your own prerogative, and it's about being strong and making solid opinions. But it's clothing that really speaks to that. Yeah. Outside of that, I'm honestly doing everything. Let me not lie to you. I always try to act like I'm not busy, but I'm always super busy. Yeah. Like, I just joined the choir at my church again. I just started going back to church, and I'm very spiritual, but not super religious. So activities-wise, I'm just all over the place. Like, I'm on a couple of different community service boards. Like, I'm just really active about being out here, being black and enjoying black experiences. So
I dig it.
The Black Ass Flea Market. That's another. Excuse my language again, but that's another one. That's what it's called. I volunteered there recently. So I just been really into curating or being part of people who are curating black experiences and enjoying things that I wanted to do as a child. So I'm revisiting how to knit and just random stuff. But those are my hobbies these days.
It's a full plate. I like it.
Yeah.
Now we get into some of the. What's the last movie you've watched? Because I like to get a well-rounded, because I'm like, oh, I don't believe in movies. It's like, oh.
Honestly, every time you ask me this question, it's like, I'm going to lie. Like, the last movie I probably watched was, like, Baby Police, which is a Nigerian movie. And my parents are West African, so, well, I'm West African as well. But it's like this funny Nigerian movie. But every time somebody asks me a question about a movie, I automatically want to say The Manchurian Candidate. Have you heard about that?
The remake of the original.
Boom.
Boom.
You talk about language right now.
Because I'm old.
Right, you know what's going on. I say this and be like, what? Who? Huh? I'm like, it has Denzel Washington, Liev Schreiber. They're like, what? Huh? Like
Sabretooth and,
yeah,
Lonzo from Training Day.
Dumb people, yeah. So, yeah, that's the movie that always comes to my mind. I'm like, The Manchurian Candidate, because it's always on my mind.
Yeah.
But I watch documentaries damn near every night. I watch.
What's one that comes to mind, like a favorite for you?
Ooh, immediately what came to my mind was Wild Wild Country. Wild Wild Country is about Bhagavan something. It's about the... Damn, I'm missing it. I'm literally mixing it up with Tyler Perry's TV show. But it's basically about a cult in Utah, and they came from India, and they were able to buy out like an entire city in Utah, build up, and like do all of their cult stuff. And they were such a U.S. sensation like in the 70s and the 80s. Yeah. And this man had all this power. And of course, the feds had to get involved because they built an entire city. They had their water levees and everything. Like they had stuff. It was so interesting. It was just... It's so crazy because the person who helped to build it was one of the people that helped to bring it down. And she's like... She's in the documentary. She actually came up with her own documentary. Yeah, it's super interesting. You got to watch it, Wild Wild Country.
I'll check it out.
You got to.
Take a note on that. Wild Wild Country.
Yes.
I prefer the Wild Wild West, but, we'll work.
Yeah, it's a Wild Wild Country out here, but...
So, I think I got it. You touched on it earlier, so I'm going to skip this next question.
What?
Most mocked characteristic?
What is it? You didn't say it.
No, what is your most... what is the characteristic?
Yeah, no, yeah, what would you think?
You
think I'm mocked?
Huh? Yeah, you're your own most marked characteristic.
Oh, marked. I was you think people mock me?
No. People mock me.
Mark's characteristic, spunkiness.
Yeah.
Answer like that. You can hear it through the mic.
Legitimate. It's legitimate. I was told in a job interview that I wasn't bubbly enough.
Yes, you are.
I don't think I'm bubbly.
I think you're very bubbly.
Now, because I have such an ego, I would say, I'm effervescent.
Yes! So refreshing. Literally, think of seltzer.
That's funny. Rob Topo Chico. Which words or phrases do you overuse?
Is that really your name?
Rob Topo Chico?
Topo Chico?
No.
I was going to say, are you Cameroonian? No. Okay, that's another question.
Someone told me I was Egyptian, though.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's the beard. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know where you're from.
Yeah,
you could be
East
an
Baltimore.
indigenous American. You can be anything. I'm looking at you. I'm like, honestly, you really could be Central African to me, though. You give me more Central or East.
I got to do my admixture test again because I was like, I need to figure this out.
How did I not plug myself? Ufuoma. I do that in my spare time, too. I'm a writer. Take fashion content,
I was waiting. I was going to leave that up for you.
Say, whoa, hold up. In my spare time, what I do for fun is I create content for my journalistic engine, Ufuoma, and I focus on anything from politics, like history, current events, today's social events, all of that. And I take pictures in my African garb because that's 95% of the time I'm wearing African prints. Not today. But, yeah. But I take pictures because I want to draw people in. I model, so I want people to see, oh, she looks pretty, and read what I have to say, actually. That's really how I draw people in. So that's what I do in my free time is Ufuoma, but I need to buckle down and create some more stuff.
Nope.
I do.
I'll tell you about this off mic because it's actually kind of funny to me.
Oh, you gotta tell me a secret, guys. Don't tell me a secret.
So what's the word that you're using more often than that you're using too much? What's that word that you're using over and over?
I had a conversation today about, I think two things I've been saying a lot is let me stop That's something I had a conversation about this morning. I'm like, I gotta stop saying, let me stop.
Let me stop saying, let me stop.
Yeah, because it's like I joke a lot, and I'm like, let me stop. But honestly, there's 15% truth in all my jokes. So I always say, let me stop, just to rear myself back in, or just to, I'm just kidding. But no, that's something that makes me feel comfortable, and something I actually want to stop saying. Another word I've been saying as of recently is policy. Like, I think I be trying to stop myself from saying, once I got policy, because I'm so used to saying law and the laws and legislation, it felt so just like archaic, but policy is so refreshing to me. So I've been like, yeah, urban policy, community-oriented policy. Yeah, so that's my word, public policy.
I usually say gabbage a lot, and I like to say it just like that instead of garbage.
Where you from? I'm from Boston. Don't say it like that.
I'm from Baltimore.
I'm garbage.
Gabbage.
Yeah, some garbage.
No.
Gabbage.
What's the other? I usually say spin it, too.
Yeah, I like that you say that. It's cute.
It's great. I like it. It's nice. It's something I got off of, I think, Kevin Smith. He was like, he was watching a movie, and he was like, as a kid, he was a fat kid, and he was watching this movie about, it's a rom-com, and he said he kept watching it with his mom because that's the only person that would watch it, and she had to be annoyed. She was like, oh, fuck it, spin it. I don't care. Just put it on.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's like a disco record. What is this thing called?
Okay.
You're old.
Like turntable? Wow. Offensive. Offensive.
Yeah. Offend. Okay.
I'm very
kidding. I was just kidding. You was the one who said you was 37.
I am.
What is the
turntable?
I want to be a DJ too. That's something I want to get into in my free time. So the records.
Yeah, records. Vinyl.
I was just saying it's something that is hitting. I'm like, it's the records, but
millennials.
I'm not a millennial. I'm old soul. I really am.
No.
No, I really am. It was a fart of the brain.
I have those on occasion.
These stickers.
Yeah. So I viewed your Instagram, and I could see that fashion obviously is important to you. You touched on that, actually. Is it true? And is that true? And could you share some of your fashion influences or local brands?
No.
All right, fair enough. Moving on. And you mentioned Messing the Bottle. Also, shout out to Kalila.
Yeah, she's a dope, black woman doing the damn thing. Fashion is important to me. Fashion is very important to me. My dad used to grow up in school. He always used to say, you're going to school, you're not going to a fashion show. Like, I'm very big on personal expression, and I've always been about wearing what I want. Mm-hmm. I'm very, not even the feminist way. It's just, I like to just wear what speaks to me. So what was the second part of that question? No, I'm just kidding. Where do I shop? Crazily enough, and because that's basically what you're asking, my favorite brands, but I get a lot of my stuff custom made. Mm-hmm. So I go to a fabric store, or people bring things from Africa for me. Yeah, and it's $25. I'm going to plug this. $25 for 6 yards, Eleganza fabrics in Laurel. Why people want to go to Laurel in Laurel, Maryland.
I don't know if I agree with that.
And this amazing lady, she runs a business called So Sassy. Her name is Lena Dennis, and she makes all of my clothes custom so it can fit me in all the right places because I'm a big girl. But outside of that, I have lots of places that I like to go, like Nubian Human for self-care, because that goes into my hair and my skin and why I show up so nice in these pictures. But fashion-wise, Messing the Bottle is what I wear. Picky Pussy is what I wear. I just like buying stuff from different black vendors. I'm into different things. I haven't thrifted in a while, but I'm just into wearing whatever I want to wear. So I don't really shop. Yeah. I don't go to Ace Hills and Forever 21 very often, but that's where I'm at. I'm
just usually in Carhartt or Polo.
Okay.
In local brands, local streetwear brands.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all about the local, buy next door.
Shout out to Currency. Shout out to Carpet. All of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So now I'm down to my last question.
He's dying.
See, I don't even have, I was going to put in there the rapid fire questions. I don't have those.
Come on, man. Throw something at me. I was nervous. I'll
throw you some rapid fire questions.
Something that makes me shake.
So I read that your name means peace of mind and total well-being. How do you decompress and combat stress? That's
a very interesting question. I actually had a very rough last 2 days, so this is interesting. I think that I'm so used to powering through everything. And as of recently, combating stress is literally letting myself feel. Yes, I am peace of mind, and I'm the carrier of that. That's who I am. So to be totally well, you can't always be fine. I think sometimes just allowing yourself to feel. If you feel stress, you want to cry, you don't really even understand the reasons behind it. I just feel everything. So as of recently, being that I'm a water sign and Scorpio, there's been a lot of feeling in the season, but it helps me like be able to just go through what I'm going through and understand things from the perspective I need to understand them from and just move on. So stress, I don't really feel stressed. I feel like I have a lot of situations. I function very well in high stress situations. And I think that's why law school never really fazed me until I was like, okay, you're homeless. Like you're going through life. So stress is something that I just get over by like, okay, I'm here. And I'll like chill out, stay to myself, read a book, talk to somebody. Like today, this is how I power through my stress. It's just like more energy. Like I'm here, like feeling grateful, things like that.
All right. I like it. I've got to write down one last question.
Oh, he's writing down the question.
So write down a new question.
Hold up. Wait.
All right. So yeah, that's great. I'm gonna edit that out to make me sound like I'm more polished.
I mean, I like that it was raw like that though.
Well, it's always raw.
Raw dog in it. You can edit that.
I remember when I was filming something for a TV series or what have you, and it was background work, and one of the other background actors was like, "Man, I'm not going out to Florida. People down here raw dog in the air." I was like, "Okay, that's the funniest thing I've heard."
It is.
It's really funny.
That's the truth too. They are.
So rapid fire. Now the way this is done is you can give context or you can omit context. If you want to add extra context to why you may answer a question a certain way, feel free, but you don't have to necessarily do that.
Oh, I naturally do that. So okay, I'm just gonna do my best.
Okay. Favorite food?
Why is it so hard?
You buckled right there for a second.
Yeah, I'm like, I wanted something like crazy, favorite food. Shoot, I always used to lie and say ice cream. Right now, probably, I love rice. I love African food. I cook a lot of African food. I cater African. Oh, that's another thing I do in my free time. I told you I'm a busy person. So African food, West African food, primarily anything that are greens. So like rice and cassava leaves, rice and spinach, rice and potato leaves. My favorite, American-wise, I mean, I love, like, steak. I love steak, like, specifically steak with macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, and maybe some type of asparagus or something.
That's like the blackest plate I've heard of. It
has to be. If I go to Capitol Grill, I have to get all of these. But, yeah, I mean, food.
It's waiting for you to say yams in there, too. I was like, come on. Now.
Oh, no. See, if I'm getting yams, I have to get yams, macaroni and cheese, and, like, rotisserie chicken from Nick's. You ever been to Nick's in South Park, Pigtown? No. Now you got to go to Nick's in Pigtown.
You got to bring those two together. That's when the black excellence happens, too. The greens and the macaroni and cheese and the yams?
What you doing after this? Like, let's go get some food.
Giving away secrets?
Oh, and secrets? I love a good bibimbap bowl. Bibimbap?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I eat those, like... And I love Afghan food. I'm very fickle. So I have like set meals. It's either going to be like steak, it's going to be bibimbap, or it's going to be Afghan salad and rice and chicken, or it's going to be African food. So those are my favorite foods.
I'm eating out of a box every day. I get the meal kits.
The what?
The meal kits, like the
like the
bodybuilder meal kits. Yeah, trying to put on muscle. Yeah,
I mean, it's working.
Well, thank you.
You're a big guy.
Yeah, well, just gotta get it in order.
I'm not eating right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I gotta figure out what the hell I'm having dinner.
I eat like one meal a day, and it's usually at 10 o'clock. So, I'm a big girl for no reason. It's crazy.
Wine or beer?
I was gonna say beer. Nah, honestly. I do like wine. I love I'm a Riesling Moscato. Don't call me on the Cabernet, but I'm more like but beer is actually good.
If you're getting good beer, yes.
Not even just good beer. My parents grew up on the Guinness and the Stout and all that type of stuff, and the Heineken. I didn't know that imported beer was that great. It's horrible to me. I like Modelo. Modelo's pretty...
Good. Yeah.
Great taste. I love trying like these new lagers and stuff. Like you've been to Brass Tap where you go to the distillery or whatever. Yeah. Like I like beer. I like the fact that people don't like ladies drinking beer. It's like a lady drink. So it's like, the rebel in me is like, of course, I'm a good stout.
I went to friggin' Guilford last week.
Oh, really?
I was getting loose.
Getting turned. Oh, you know what I like though? What's it called? Mead?
The mead. Fermented honey, like the alcohol honey? Yeah.
Yes. And I thought, wait, that's not beer?
It's a type of honey.
It's a beerish honey.
Yeah.
It's like they make it the same process they make beer, but it's honey that they're fermenting. So, yeah, I like that. That's like a cross between wine and beer for me.
Knights used to drink it.
I am a knight.
Yeah, I'm a City Knight because I went to City College.
Oh, I'm not.
Gang,
Well,
gang,
my
gang.
ex-boyfriend went to City. You know, that's cool. Poly all day.
Oh no!
I did not grow up in Baltimore.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, don't play those games. Like,
They-
it's wrong colors out here in these streets. Even though they were the same
You know,
colors as Morgan.
Abercrombie and Fitch went to City.
No.
Abercrombie. One of the Abercrombie or Fitch went to City. Yes.
They should be friggin' like.
They should be sponsoring the football team and all things. Like, y'all should get free colognes for freshman orientation.
Just everyone comes out smelling really great.
Yeah, you smell great at City. That's
That's a.
ah,
They didn't hire
Don't
you.
feel
They didn't
that.
hire me. This is a chicken question.
chicken.
Flats or drums?
Of course, a flat, baby.
What?
Yes, and because
You
know,
are
I'm
kidding.
gonna tell you because flats. Look, I get excited.
You see the look on my face?
Yeah, because I'm like, you like drums?
Always.
Okay, so we could share chicken then. We
All
could
right, fair
eat
enough.
off the same plate, and you just take what you take.
Spin it.
Drums are too meaty, and it's not bad that they're too meaty. But I like the fact that with a flat, I can like stick it in my mouth, pull it out. I feel like it's like somebody knows how to crack crabs. Like I know how to pull that thing out, and no meat is on that bone, and I spun it in my mouth. It's like a process, and I like the fact that it's lean. I like the fact that it has a lot more skin. I like the crunchy parts of a drum, but the flats call my name, and they're just daintier. It just hits. Like you could stick it. By the time you pull it out, you got 3 bones coming out your mouth. You can flip it. Yeah, I don't know.
When I was a kid, my first the first food that my mom gave me was a chicken. I think it was a chicken leg, and I hate chicken legs as an
yeah.
adult.
What?
And here's the kicker: the only thing that I got from that, because I don't like chicken legs, is I kind of just got into liking wings. I'm a breast guy, and people give me shit about it. Anyway,
I'm a breast.
and what is it? She would pour hot sauce on it because she was like, you know what, you need to eat less, because I was a big kid.
Yeah.
And would put on my thumb because I wouldn't stop sucking my thumb. Now I just love hot sauce.
Hate hot sauce.
Hot sauce is great.
I eat pepper. Like I think that I've always had this thing against hot sauce just because it's like the African in me living in America, but living an African experience sometimes. I'm like, this is not real pepper. Like this is mixed with lime and all this stuff. Like I need like grounded down habaneros, and that's basically what I learned, that certain types of hot sauce, oh my God, tastes like African peppers that I like. It has a smoky aftertaste, all this. But when I originally tasted hot sauce, it was just so acidic, and I was like, oh.
See, I like the acid. Like I like vinegar.
Oh yeah, that's what turned me off
yeah.
of it. But I like the hot sauces that focus on like the Scotch bonnets and the habaneros, and they like ground down.
That's
like,
too much for me.
Oh yeah, you don't like pepper.
Nah. East side. Yeah. I do my chicken box. I just pour a bunch of that
yes.
Louisiana hot sauce in there.
Crystals.
Yeah. See.
Okay,
See, when I moved to New Orleans, they need to sponsor me. They need to just give me like a top, like the bottle top.
You look, you be on a hot sauce bottle.
Yeah, I'm a hot sauce guy.
You could be the bottle. The
Rob's
head would be your face.
Oh shit.
Like I can see it. Like
It's a weird Aunt Jemima's thing.
yes, but it would be cool because you're the person who's branding it, and not like the Millingstone Company, whoever they
That's
are.
a terrible name, by the way. Now, I've seen people like cover it with this says it's Aunt Jemima's.
And it pisses me off. I'm like, can we just stop everything is so PC these days. I'm like, stop faking it. We have certain roots that are going to be rooted. We live on American soil. Is this American? Is this our soil?
No.
Exactly. So let's just let Aunt Jemima be Aunt Jemima and recognize that stuff was racist when it was racist.
I'd rather not even have the name on the box with the color and
Just
what it is.
I like her picture.
Have a real person on there.
I like having her because it's like Mrs. Buttersworth. Like, yes, it's rooted. We know. I think, don't call it Aunt Jemima's.
Yeah, just.
But even Jemima. But maybe Jemima, the name Jemima was like, let's just chill. Like, let's not even eat pancakes no more. It's fine.
I like pancakes.
I like waffles anyways.
Where do you party in Baltimore if you were to go out there and party? Where do you spend your time at?
I was going to say, where do I park? I was saying, listen, in a garage. Well, party. I go out pretty often. Partying is everything, so it includes drinking. I am like a bar aficionado. I have a gimme list, and it has all the spots where to eat, where to drink.
I'm listening.
I might share this with you. But 9 times out of 10, you can find me down Fells. You can find me in Harbor East, Canton. If I'm dancing, I'm definitely like tonight, $15 at the Residence Inn. At the Residence Inn on Wolf Street.
Yeah.
It's called the 16 on Park, or Park on the 16th, or whatever. It's the top floor, and it's like good time. I dance a lot. So there's that, and then I go to Sangria on Charles Street. You know, I don't really party in Baltimore. I go to DC. But I've been learning how to enjoy myself in Baltimore, and just like I'm getting older. I'm 25 now, but And I graduated 16 and 19, so honestly, I'm like 32. Like, okay, I'm like really like 28. The people that I hang around with are from 28 to like 33. So the way I feel is like, oh yeah, I just want to get a nice drink after a long day. Like, I might not even work that day, work remotely, but I'm like, I just need a drink. I don't want to do all this dancing and going out and getting dressed and showing my face for boys. Like, so yeah, I enjoy myself at bars 9 times out of 10.
So last question I have in this rapid fire situation. This will be the last question for the podcast. Yeah.
I was loving it here.
What is your favorite thing about Baltimore? This is a Baltimore podcast. You know, we have to be real about it, but also it has to be a reason why we're all here. Like, there have been opportunities for myself to, hey, Rob, come over here. Go in, relocate. Blah. And I'm like, nah, if you got crab cakes, you got some type of gun violence, no? All right, I'm going to still be. I like the gun violence. That's terrible. That's terrible, but also it's gallows humor.
Baltimore, the one thing I see, I can't be regular. I can't just answer regularly. It's like, I love Baltimore's rawness. I love the fact that it's the bad kid that gets in trouble at school, but the principal loves. Like, that's the way I see Baltimore. It's like, you're loved. You're so loved. It's just that you're in the wrong place. I love the squeegee boys. I love the struggle. Like, I love to see it. Like, other places it's hidden and it's so pretty, but here it's block by block. So I just love it's such a multifaceted city. It's such a city that you can grow so much. I literally had my starting at 16, coming here alone. And it's like, I've been able to do everything and above and beyond what I thought I could accomplish. And Baltimore was really my stepping stone, if not for Baltimore. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I just love how it's the dichotomy of Baltimore. I think that's what I love the most about it. And I know that sounds crazy, but that encapsulates everything. Like, the fun, the harbor, and the struggle. Like, honestly, I don't know. I just love the grit.
Yeah.
Baltimore got grit. Like, what's that, UMBC? Like, yeah, Baltimore does have grit. It's raw here. And I love that the energy here is authentic. The people are raw. It's the vibe. Like, there's nothing like, I went to New York and came back from New York. There's nothing like Baltimore. I promise you. Like, and I want to leave sometimes, just to like, you know, I've been here since it's been 10 years next, like, year. Yeah. But I'm like, damn, I can't leave Baltimore, man.
It's one of those things, like, I would say it's like, I almost want to be, because I'm an advocate for the city, right? I almost want to be on this wave of like, yeah, it's everything you heard and much, much more.
Yes.
Because you want to be real about it. It's like, well, you guys got this. Yeah. But also, have you had crab legs?
I haven't watched The Wire, and this is why I won't watch it, because I just don't want to see Baltimore through the lens of what everybody else sees it as, what they say it is. Mm-hmm. I come here as a 16-year-old, like, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, can I go to Mondawmin Mall? Oh, well, this is not the Columbia Mall. Well, I mean, you know, I learned things through, like, my own eyes, and I'm like, yo, this place is everything you've heard of and much, much more. But what have you heard? That's the question.
So now I'd like to offer up the opportunity in the last few minutes here for you to shamelessly plug away all of your thousands of things that you're doing. Social media and all of that would be as simple as possible, but feel free. The floor is yours.
Well, currently, I am seeking, that's mainly the basic thing that I would like to plug. No, I'm seeking opportunity to become a correspondent. I really, 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 I'm trusting my life. I'm trusting myself getting out here. I'm just graduating from law school, being very, very active in public service and being active in community work. I really would just like the opportunity to talk about policy in a communications way. Yeah, policy. I want to be in a communications person. Like, I want to be out here, press and correspondence, and I'm looking for any opportunity. Like, something like this was such a great thing. You come in, like, this was great opportunity. So I'm looking for more opportunities like this, and also shamelessly plugging all the businesses that I plugged earlier. Like, of course, Picky, of course, Nubian Human, of course, Black-Owned Business Connect, of course, the whole Black-Ass Enterprise, of course, Soul in the City, Sola, the solar system. That's a girl to watch out for. Plugging One Ufuoma, my journalistic engine. Plugging The Initiative. The Initiative, that's also something that I do. I didn't want to plug that here, but I help families that are in dire straits. So I raise money and I resource broker for them, families, and right now I'm sponsoring a family in Nigeria, in Delta State, Nigeria, but also families in Baltimore and throughout Maryland and America. So at this point, I would like to plug that. You could definitely, drop a donation. Visit me on my Instagram at Fashion Frenzy FOMA. At Fashion Frenzy FOMA. That's the only Instagram I have, and honestly, I just want to plug myself. I am one Ufuoma, and I'm just great. So get to know me. I think you can get to know me from this, from this though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for Ufuoma Agarin, I am Rob Lee, saying that there is art and talent, all of the talent. You got all the talent. In and around Baltimore, you just have to look for it.